from Michigan Public. This is It's Just Politics. I'm Zoe Clark.
And I'm Rick Pluta.
Is the state legislature, after creating a new wholesale tax on marijuana sales, looking to make the legal marijuana industry a little less frustrated?
In this case, they're saying, okay, well, we're basically growing twice as much marijuana as the market demands. So we have this oversaturation of product, and it's deflating prices down to the lowest in the country.
But first, you might have been asked recently to sign a petition. But did you know that signature gatherers can lie to you about what the petition says, what the ballot would actually do?
One reason is economics. Some signature gatherers are paid per signature, meaning there's a profit motive to get as many signatures as possible. In 2022, this led to 5 Republican candidates running for governor to be disqualified from the ballot due to fraudulent signatures.
A package of bills recently approved by the State Senate Elections and Ethics Committee would, among other things, outlaw paying petition circulators by the signature. Democratic State Senator Jeremy Moss chairs the committee and introduced the bills, and he joins us now. Senator, hi.
Hello. We talk about this every election year, so good to talk to you about it again.
So why are we talking about this again?
Yeah, so I mean, again, we talk about this every cycle because these problems pop up every cycle. Somebody will be approached by somebody with a clipboard wanting their signature for their proposal or their petition, and the petitioner is just not quite telling the truth about what is on their proposal, either stretching the truth or just outright lying. And there's this financial scheme that some petitioners are paid per signature that they collect. So it just creates an incentive for them to lie. If they can get more and more signatures by any means possible, including by lying, then they get more and more money. So a growing number of states that have public-led ballot proposals like we have here in Michigan have banned this payment practice. Now, we're not saying don't pay people if they're out there working on your campaign, but we are saying that this specific dynamic of paying a circulator for every signature they collect, that is ripe for abuse. And it has been abused here in Michigan, and we need to clamp down on that type of activity.
So what is the fix?
So this would pretty much just ban the payment scheme of paying a petition circulator or somebody that is working on your ballot proposal per every signature that they collect. We would still allow people to be paid hourly, be paid a flat rate, be allowed to enter into some sort of other contract with the ballot proposal committee. But a growing number of states, and I'm talking about from Oregon to Florida, across the political spectrum, they have stepped up with their laws and said, this scheme is ripe for abuse. This creates a financial incentive for somebody to enter into the petition space and say, you know, I'm going to say anything I can to get this person's signature, even if it's an outright lie, because I'm going to get more money for getting their signature.
Senator, I just think folks would be surprised that someone could just simply say what a ballot proposal could do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, we hear about these stories every single cycle in committee. I read through, probably 8 or 9 years worth of media reports of people who misrepresented the contents of their petition. But there's no penalty. There's no consequence. And so truly, right now, somebody can say one thing about what they want you to sign, and the proposal can literally do the exact opposite. So we're trying to take these best practices that other states have come up with, and we are trying to put in these safeguards here in the state of Michigan. These are not the law now. I think that's important. These are proposals that I'm introducing that I want to be the law. So really, I think the message for Michiganders listening to this right now is read every proposal before you sign on to it. There should be a summary of it right on the proposal itself. And if it doesn't jive, if it doesn't connect with what the person is saying, don't sign it. Do your research. Do your homework. Now, I want to reiterate this too, because this is important. The ballot proposal process in Michigan is important. People should engage with it. There are many, many, many more people that have good intentions and are volunteers and believe in their cause and are accurately portraying what the ballot proposal would do. So I don't want anybody to take away, don't participate in this process. Just be careful because there are no laws that would prevent somebody from lying to you.
Another piece of this legislation would require petition circulators to have to read out loud or share a summary of the petition with signers. Explain that, please.
There is a summary that is on the top of the petition form. And if somebody tells you, my petition is to, declare sunshine and rainbows, and you sign on to it, and then you find out it's to declare thunderstorms and tornadoes, you're out of luck because you signed on to the petition for tornadoes, even though you thought you were signing on for sunshine. And my proposal, my bill would require the circulator to direct on the form itself, here is the language in the petition, so that there's no question that the person that they're trying to get to sign on will have to be directed to look at the plain language of the ballot proposal.
What kind of enforcement mechanisms would you use to make sure that these rules are followed? And who would be responsible for that?
Well, we certainly have penalties set up, and we put the penalties on the ballot proposal committee itself. The ballot proposal committee should be required to train their volunteers, to make sure that they're vetting their volunteers so everybody is operating on the up and up. And so if a petition circulator gets through the cracks and is lying, the ballot proposal committee has to be responsible for the people that they're sending out in the field with their petitions.
But how would you really enforce these requirements? How do you police literally thousands of one-on-one conversations between petition circulators and people who they want to sign?
So when we first started this venture, it was in news reports persistently about people reporting that they had been lied to, that they signed on to a proposal that they later found out did the exact opposite of what the petition circulator said it would do. That was about 10 years ago. Now, 10 years later, everybody takes video, on their iPhone about their interactions. Sam Robinson, Detroit reporter, just had a viral video of somebody approaching him about the voter ID law and claiming it was going to increase access to voting when it really would do the opposite. And that video went viral because the person was flat out lying about the content of their ballot proposal as they were trying to get signatures. So the evidence can be collected in real time. If somebody's lying to you, these interactions can be recorded and then could be submitted to law enforcement to enforce the penalties. But also, there are no laws here in Michigan that prevent lying. I think it is a deterrent on the front end to say, listen, we want so much honesty in our ballot proposal process, we're going to mandate honesty in our ballot proposal process. So there's a gap here in Michigan. Bad actors are filling the space. Michigan voters are being harmed. Ballot proposals are making it past the finish line with lies and deception, or people are getting kicked off the ballot because of lies and deception. We want to clamp down on that problem here.
Senator, there are critics of this legislation, including Republican State Senator Ruth Johnson, who was a Michigan Secretary of State. She says these new rules might be used in a partisan way. Let's take a listen to what Johnson had to say during committee hearings.
I don't believe that they represent really an effective deterrent to fraud. I also feel like the legislation addressing false statements and misrepresentations in particular could be enforced in a very partisan or political motivated manner.
How do you respond to that?
I think that both Republicans and Democrats alike have been fed up with the amount of lies that have infiltrated our politics. And as you mentioned at the top, this fraudulent activity has kicked Republican candidates for governor off the ballot. So this is evenly applied across the board, not targeting Democrats, not targeting Republicans, but targeting liars who want to destroy the integrity of our ballot proposal process here in the state of Michigan. And that's why, again, a number of states, and I'm talking about states like Oklahoma. Nobody looks at Oklahoma as some sort of liberal bastion, but Oklahoma to Oregon, across the political spectrum, have said we need to have safeguards in our ballot proposal process, and they have implemented these laws. I'm proposing that we bring that same type of safeguard here to Michigan.
So these bills have cleared your committee. What do we know about when the legislation will get a vote in the full Senate? And can you get support from Republicans? Only Democrats supported these bills in committee. And to get to the governor's desk, they would have to clear a Republican House, too.
Yeah, I'm working on that. This needs to be a bipartisan proposal as it clears through the Senate. I'm working through with some of my Republican colleagues, some of their concerns. I'm not sure that Senator Johnson's going to be fully on board, but I've had a lot of openness from my Republican colleagues in the Senate to re-examine this and see if this has merit here in Michigan. Again, we put up a map in committee of what states ban this pay per signature scheme. And most of the states are actually red states. We do have some blue states, but this shouldn't be a partisan proposal because we want to protect both Republicans and Democrats from being lied to. And each side points the finger at the other. Let's just get rid of all this finger pointing and just shore up the ballot proposal process here in Michigan for once and for all.
Michigan Senator Jeremy Moss, he has introduced Senate Bills 529, 530, and 531. Senator, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is more marijuana news coming out of Lansing in the wake of a new wholesale tax that has upset the legal cannabis industry. Subscribers to the It's Just Politics newsletter know that lawmakers approved a new 24% wholesale tax on weed to help fill the gap to pay for roads, literally pot for potholes. As you can imagine, the new tax has made industry insiders very upset. Well, now lawmakers appear to be throwing the industry a bone. A state Senate committee is considering a proposal to halt new business licenses. That's something current business owners have been asking for a while, arguing that the cannabis industry in Michigan is oversaturated. Rick, I recently spoke with Dustin Walsh. He is senior reporter with Crain's Detroit Business. He covers the marijuana industry. And I started just by asking him about what appears to be lawmakers trying to make amends.
Really what it comes down to is they all sort of feel bad that they taxed marijuana, the industry. But Speaker Hall had them sort of over a barrel on that one because there's not much they could do. It was either halt the budget or tax the cannabis. And so they chose to tax cannabis. And so now the industry is going for the throat and trying to get what they want through Senate and then eventually the House. And then, there'll be companion bills in both the House and the Senate. And then looking to sort of, basically put a moratorium on licenses for pretty much every single category except for very, very small growers in an attempt to raise prices and increase margins and pay that tax.
So explain just the business economics of how more regulations on the industry would actually help the industry.
Sure. So right now we have what's called a unlimited licensure state. So if you meet the criteria as a business owner, you can get licensure from the state to sell, grow, process, distribute, whatever cannabis in the state of Michigan. Then you have to find a local, municipality to approve it as well. In this case, they're saying, okay, well, we've got too many. We're basically growing twice as much marijuana as the market demands. So we have this oversaturation of product that comes into the market, and it's deflating prices down to the lowest in the country. So they're hoping, okay, if we stop this and we sort of stop the amount of new licensure that comes in, people are still going to go out of business because they're not going to be able to pay this tax anyway. So fewer in businesses that exist. That means they can, the commodity prices will go higher, and therefore the ones that do survive will have higher margins, and therefore be able to sell cannabis at a much higher rate, increase their profits, and then hopefully offset this 24% tax.
And do lawmakers seem open to these changes?
Yeah, I think they want the industry to survive. I mean, the Democrats particularly there's a lot of cannabis-friendly Democrats in the House and the Senate. And so they're definitely open to doing it. Obviously, this still is a change. It's an amendment to the original law, which requires 3/4 of the House and Senate to approve this bill, which is a hurdle they didn't think they could get to passing the tax. So, can they get this to put these extra regulations on remains to be seen.
Right. Great point. Let's remind folks that is why there is a current court challenge, because this original wholesale tax did not get 3/4 majority votes in the House or Senate. So there would be this sense possibly that they could get that many votes for these regulations, again, to try to help out the current industry.
That is correct.
What do we know about the kind of firepower that the marijuana industry is throwing at the wholesale tax right now?
Right. And so the wholesale tax was interesting because the industry was sort of, segmented in a way. Obviously, there's the Michigan Industry Cannabis Growers or Cannabis Association, which is sort of the largest. There's 400 companies roughly that belong to that. But then there's a lot of other ones that aren't part of that group. And so they're all sort of trying to join together to create this kind of larger group and really give them, more legs to go after this. They do have some of the, higher end lawyers in the state, for this lawsuit. And so they're really trying to organize themselves really for the first time, in the last 5 years in the industry sort of been created, 5 or 6, almost 6 years actually, to really sort of, challenge this authority that the legislature and the governor sort of threw at them. To challenge the law and sort of get rid of it. And if they can't do that, that's sort of the point of going after these new bills, right? It's like if they can, because there's other bills than just the moratorium. There's also bills that would legalize and sort of regulate THC, hemp-derived THC products. It's very, very complicated. But because of the 2018 Farm Bill, there's cannabis that can be imported into the state legally, federally. And so really they're just trying to find ways like, how do we create new revenue streams? And then maybe later at a later date, go to legislature and be like, can we lower this wholesale tax, please? It's killing us.
One idea also floated during this Senate committee hearing was the possibility of creating some kind of marijuana tourism, almost like wine country for pot enthusiasts. Are you hearing other ideas like this?
Yeah, I think everyone's throwing everything at the board right now. We do know that there's going to be, they're already changing and adding amendments to these proposed bills that are going through the Senate right now. So we don't know what the actual outcome is going to be. But yes, there's certainly going to be everything they can throw at the legislature to create new revenue streams, to offset the wholesale tax or to replace parts of the wholesale tax in the future is what the industry is doing. They're all very desperate because they do believe this wholesale tax is going to just be an absolute crush on the industry.
Dustin, in the final minute or so we have left, we know this wholesale tax goes into effect January 1st. Is there a push, a sense that lawmakers are going to try to get these new regulations in place before the new year?
Yeah, so the new regulations would technically go into, as they're written today, would go into effect on the same exact date of January 1st. So as they move through, we'll see if they can actually kind of correct the language and meet, the industry where they want the language to be done. I mean, obviously, as you know, things tend to move really slowly or really, really fast when it comes to Michigan legislature. So we don't know how this is going to work and whether they have the votes and how much time they've got in the next, 2 months before the Christmas break.
Dustin Walsh, he covers the marijuana industry for Crain's Detroit Business. Dustin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And to get the latest on the court challenges to the state's new wholesale marijuana tax, to get the latest on what's happening in the state legislature and in Michigan politics, subscribe to the It's Just Politics newsletter at the website michiganpublic.org. We will be in your inboxes every Friday afternoon. And that is It's Just Politics for today. I am Zoe Clark.
And I'm Rick Pluta.
Let's talk again next week.